Darlene is courageous enough to tackle this, but she has to be courageous in a whole bunch of ways. She is head of Arcata House, which has a major challenge right now. She has an EDD and an MA, and she's executive director, of course, of Arcata House here in Arcata, dealing with the homeless. Since 1980, Dr. Spoor has been committed to and involved in providing service to people in need. She began her professional life as a case manager working with people who were dual diagnosed with learning disabilities and mental illness. Throughout her career, she has been in leadership roles for agencies that have served people with a variety of needs: mental health issues, learning disabilities, substance use concerns, special education needs, people who were economically disadvantaged or housing insecure, people with physical challenges, people fleeing domestic violence, and the development of affordable housing. The opportunity to develop and manage buildings and programs that served the disenfranchised afforded her the opportunity to work with people with varied needs. And Darlene, I think you came here about 3 years ago. So we're going to turn Darlene loose. Thank her very much for taking this on. So far, we have about 50 signed on, which is fantastic. We'll see if we get more. And Darlene, now we're going to talk about the changing face of the homeless.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I am honored to be here. I am so grateful that I get to serve our community through Arcata House Partnership, and that I get to share what's happening with everyone. So a few months ago when I was asked to do this, I was really excited, and I had this great PowerPoint and all these presentation informations. And then, last week I thought, oh my goodness, things are really different right now. So I wanted this to be more of a, here's what's happening in the moment conversation. If people have questions, please put them in the chat room. There's an awful lot of people here, so that's going to have to be managed a little, but I really want this to be interactive. So let me start a little by talking about really the kinds of people that we were seeing 2 months ago before this health crisis, and really the changing face 2 months ago and how our community was responding. Arcata House Partnership, as you know or may not know, so let me just tell you, provides the only 24-hour low barrier shelters in the county. We serve countywide for most of our funding. We manage all of our programs by using housing first and a harm reduction model, which means that people can come into our shelters or into our housing programs, even if they have a substance use concern that's not being managed, or a mental health concern or physical concern that's not being managed. And we feel strongly that people need a place to be before they can even attempt to start addressing all of those other issues and needs and concerns that are happening in their lives. We manage we're the only nonprofit that manages permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing vouchers for the county. The county itself, Department of Health and Human Services, has some vouchers. We're the only nonprofit that manages some as well. And those are the same as Section 8 vouchers for people needing housing finance support, but they come with case management. So everyone that we put in our voucher program also comes with case management. We provide a one-stop service, which really is either a phone service or in-person service, although right now we're just doing it through the window, where we connect and refer people to all kinds of issues. They don't have to be homeless. They can be somebody who's housed and is having needs a restraining order, or someone who's about to be evicted and needs some a connection for legal services, or whatever it is. Our staff at the One Stop are really versed in what's out there and how people can access that. One of the things that we noticed a few months ago was that we were getting an awful lot more calls for people who were over 60, who were becoming homeless for the first time, or who were on the street for some time, and their health conditions were really starting to interfere with their ability to have any kind of life on the street. And the calls were coming in at a rate of 2 or 3 a week. And it was really disturbing. What we were discovering is that many of the people who were calling us who were becoming homeless for the first time over the age of 60, which by the way made me really angry that I even had to be having this conversation with anybody, because I think it's an outrage that people our age, my age, should be having to worry about where they're going to live tomorrow. But that's aside. So Arcata House Partnership responded by opening the first shelter for seniors. We opened a 6-bed shelter for seniors. It got filled immediately. Many of the people there, we were able to kind of get stable and then work with them to find their own places that they could afford, either with a voucher or with a friend, or, you know, we were working with anybody that would help us get people housed. So those beds are full, and they're full all the time. We did that with no idea of how we were going to pay for those, other than it had to happen. And we still don't have any income source to pay for the utilities on that building, or, you know, the furniture or the staffing for that building. But we were really committed to serving that population. That is absolutely one of the changing faces of the homeless. The other thing that we noticed was that we were getting an awful lot more calls from families with young children who were now sleeping in their cars. They went to work every day, they brought their children to school every day, but they couldn't afford to get the down payment or to save enough money so that they could get their own place. So a lot more people were wanting to come into our shelters because they were living in their cars and they needed a way to save money and get ready to be housed. So we started to work with people who were living in their cars. We started to bring food to them. We started to connect with them to help them better meet their needs. We opened a Saturday program so that families with little children could come to one of our buildings on Saturday, and they could take showers and do their laundry and have a hot meal and meet with our case managers. The children would have a place to stretch their legs and do their homework or use our computers. And all of those things happened, again, with no funding, but we were really committed to serving that population. Now, obviously, in the last few weeks, things have exploded in a way that none of us could have expected. And so now we, again, have quickly responded to meet the needs of people. And what we're finding is not only are those two populations increasing astronomically, but so are people who are just single adults who are finding themselves in very bad situations. I think one of the biggest parts of my job over the last few years since I've been at Arcata House Partnership is really to help people understand that although the person we see most often on the street that we relate to as being homeless, the person with severe mental health issues or who has a substance use issue and is passed out in a doorway, those are the people we see and we relate to. And I know that myself and everyone, most everyone that I know and have talked to is just thinks, oh my goodness, there are so many people who are just kind of crazy out there, or drug abuse people out there, and you know, they don't want some help. But what we're seeing at Arcata House Partnership is, although they're the visible ones, they're not really the population that's growing. We see the same people who are using drugs and sleeping in the doorway and not wanting assistance right now because they're really very ill and can't figure out how to do that in a way that will help them. We're seeing the same people with severe mental health issues, and some people want to have service and some people don't. And let me just share this story. There was this one woman we were working with for a while, and all of a sudden her mental health got really bad. And we said to her, I don't know what's happening and why is your mental health like so bad? And she said, I used to live at Pelco Marsh and I knew who my neighbor was and I could take my medicine that made me go to sleep at night and know I was going to be safe. And then I was forced to move. And now I can't sleep at night because if I take my medicine, it makes me go to sleep and I get raped or I get beat up and I'm not safe because I don't have a place to be anymore with a neighbor or my community that I could rely on. So we've seen a lot of changes over the last couple of years since Pelco Marsh closed down, and rightfully, you know, it wasn't the best place to be. But there was a sense of community there. So what we've been trying to do now is to help people who are on the streets to build a new sense of community. And that's a very difficult thing because people are letting their meds lapse because they can't take them. They'll sleep through the night and not feel safe. People are not knowing who's sleeping next to them tonight. So they can't they can't leave their things, and that's all they have, so that they can go to the store or go to Open Door and see a physician or get any services that they need. So what we're seeing is that there's been a real change in the way that the homeless population has to protect themselves now that we have been moving people regularly. So what that means for us is that we've worked long and hard pre-health crisis to help people understand that there are very different needs that we're seeing since 3 or 4 years ago. Things are very different right now, right pre-health crisis. And we've responded by trying to find a car park program where families with little children can park every night. We're hearing that they're feeling like they can't park anywhere safe so that they can sleep, the parents can sleep while the children are asleep, that there's no support for them so that they can shower. They wanted their children to have clean clothes or to be clean when they go to school, that it's really difficult to do homework in the car, even if they have access to technology. They don't have a place to have internet. So prior to this health concern, we've worked really hard to try and meet some of those needs. And we've been successful with some of it and not successful with some of it. And then along comes the health crisis. And our whole world has changed. And so with that comes a whole change in the population that we serve. So let me just tell you a little about what's happened, because I've been getting a lot of questions about what's really happening since this whole health crisis shelter in place, and how can people shelter in place if they don't have a place. So working with the Humboldt Housing and Homeless Coalition, which is our continuum of care, I sit as the chairperson on there. That's the organization where all of the homeless service providers come together regularly to talk about who we are, what we do, how we can do it together, and to identify gaps so that we can serve people better. What happened immediately was we came together and we started talking about all of the people that we're serving and how we were going to be serving differently. Excuse me. So for example, the mission wasn't going to be open for night by night sheltering for a while. They made a choice to have people shelter in place. Our shelters got locked down so that people that were in the shelters then became, we consolidated our shelters to our one campus out on Boyd Road. We put our seniors in one wing of the building. We had our adults in another wing. We had families in the little house so that people could shelter in place and still have some separation. Our staff made a commitment, the staff that are working in those shelters that are restricted, are only working in those shelters and not in other programs. We, the Humboldt Housing and Homeless Coalition, quickly reconfigured ourselves so that we were prepared when some of the FEMA money and some of the state money started coming in. And what that meant was that Betty's family shelter started to shelter in place. Again, the mission sheltered in place. We sheltered in place. We submitted a proposal to open some tent shelter locations. And luckily they were approved by the city of Arcata, and we've now opened 2 shelter locations. One's on the corner of 7th and G, and one's at the transit station parking lot. Together we have 40 people there. We got new tents and sleeping bags from the Office of Emergency Management so that everybody that wanted a tent or a sleeping bag got that. We're working to make sure that everybody gets 3 meals a day. And what's been happening there is that we have seen an amazing change in the way people behave. And my theory, and this is a theory, it's anecdotal, is that what we did was we said, okay, people, you have a legal right to be in these locations. It's sanctioned by the city. We're going to provide some support for you, and we're going to give you meals, and we're going to give you a tent, and we're going to give you a place. And people went, thank you. That's all we've been asking for. And so since this started, we have had 0 police calls responding to any of these tent emergency shelter locations. Last Saturday, we did make 1 phone call because someone was having a mental health crisis, but that was a medical emergency that got taken care of. So I do want to say that the reports from the police department are that reports of encampments are down 62%, and 911 calls for people who were drunk in public are down 53%. And we attribute a fair amount of this to the population that we serve. In addition to the tent camping locations, we are working with FEMA to open what they're called their hotel rooms. Operation Room Key is what they're calling it. And we have permission to fill 20 hotel rooms. We've got 16 will be filled by noon today, so probably by now. All 20 will be filled by the end of the day tomorrow, and we're hoping to get permission to open 30 more. Those are all for people who are over the age of 65. I'm going to look at my little screening tool here. And who are homeless, of course, over the age of 65, or who are at high risk because they have chronic lung disease or asthma, heart conditions, they're immunocompromised, they're undergoing cancer treatment, they have a BMI of over 40, they have diabetes, chronic kidney disease, or chronic liver disease. So what's happening is that FEMA quickly responded, and the state of California actually as well, to say, let's get seniors who are homeless off the street as quickly as we can. This is a fabulous thing that's happening out there. Like suddenly everybody is saying, we care. We care about the people who are out there. So out of the people that we have in our hotels right now, most of those people would not be people that you see on the street. They were living in their cars. They were hiding in plain sight. They weren't the people who were sleeping in the doorways. That's part of the changing face of people who are homeless. The people who are going into these hotels, the people in our tent shelters really are the people that you might see on the street. But if people have severe mental health issues or severe drug use issues, they're not coming to us in our tent shelter. They don't want to be involved in a program that has any restrictions or responsibilities. And although the responsibilities are minor, they really are no open flames, the whole goal is to shelter in place, so you can't have a lot of visitors. Try to stay in your tent or in the area, and you just have to behave, really, in a way that's nice. And by the way, we'd love it if you would do some landscaping or keep your area clean or those kind of things. And people have responded in kind. It's absolutely brilliant to see people say, we are so appreciative that you're giving us respect to be in the tent shelter or to be in the hotel, and that we're getting meals and we're being treated like human beings. And again, we have had no problems. Now, that's today. Things change by the moment in my world right now. Just minutes before I jumped on here, I was on a federal Zoom meeting with 2,200 other people talking about what we're doing across the country. And so I want to take a few minutes to kind of share, because there's so much happening that I don't know. I was having a hard time yesterday thinking, what do I share here? Because the goal is, let's talk about the changing face of the homeless. Well, the changing face of the homeless is something that in a few months is going to be very different for us. So a lot of us are working nationally to make sure that we're finding ways to help all the people who don't have a job right now, 22 million who have applied for unemployment and can't pay their rent. What's going to happen in 2 months when the moratorium is lifted, and then landlords can start saying, okay, pay the rent or get evicted. So we're working nationally to figure out how we're going to protect all of those people who we think are going to become the face of the homeless in a couple of months. And they're the people that were going to work every day and living, 3 people, 3 jobs, trying to make a living, and working in the minimum wage or the service industry, or all of those programs and jobs that are now shut down. So not only is the face of the homeless today changing, but I predict that the face of the homeless in 2 months or 3 months, when these rent moratoriums end, is going to become very different, and we're going to be inundated with you and me and my sister and your son and your neighbor who used to be able to live paycheck to paycheck are no longer able to do that. So for me, the changing face of the homeless is, here's what's been going on, here's what we're predicting to happen in the next few months, and how do we make sure that we're taking care of all of those things. So I have a few notes here that I'd like to share, and then I really, there is so much that I think people are probably going to be getting a little overwhelmed, but I want us to kind of ask questions. Here's what's happening right now in the county, and I'm going to open a couple of documents because there's just so much that I have to also look, and this changes daily. So for people who are housed or not housed, there are food pantries all across the county, and I can share these documents with you, Jane, or anyone, and you can send them out to people. If the Senior Resource Center, St. Vincent de Paul, we're providing food, Betty Chin's providing food. What's happening to stores and other resources, family resource centers, and how they're helping the families. Most of the families that they're getting and referring to us are people who really work paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly their children, they're figuring out how to get their children the free meals that the schools are still providing, or the meals that the Senior Resource Center are delivering. So we're really all working together to make sure that we're doing the best we can to meet people's needs. Homeownership and renters' rights. We've been working locally with the legal services in Northern California to draft some local language so that people are protected, and we're also working nationally so that we can help people in 2 months when suddenly the moratorium is lifted and now they owe 2 or 3 or 4 months rent, and the landlord is saying, okay, pay up or leave. Well, it's not going to be that simple because they're still not going to have a job right away. So we're working on that. Transportation has really, the Humboldt Transit Authority now provides free service on their buses. There's other opportunities. Area 1 Agency on Aging has a volunteer driver program. There's lots happening around that. Mental health has Department of Health and Human Services mental health line where anybody can call with information to get information about the COVID virus, but they can also call just because things are feeling a little overwhelming or this is really scary or what's going to happen. It doesn't have to be a mental health crisis. But there's also the National Suicide Prevention Line, the Friendship Line, crisis texts. What unemployment is happening here in the county, and people are not getting unemployment as fast as they were promised. So there's an awful lot of people who are hungry. So we're connecting them to our food pantries across the county. We still do know that there's a food desert in parts of our county, mostly on reservations, and we're working to develop a coalition where we can do bulk purchases so that all of us, dozens and dozens of agencies who are working together to get people food, are really doing it in the best way possible. Public health and prescriptions, here's a list of pharmacies that are delivering utilities, phone and Wi-Fi, what California Lifeline and Economy Internet from Altice through Suddenlink is doing. Hygiene, where there's public restrooms, we've now, let's see, I think it looks like a dozen. We've gotten a dozen restrooms, porta potties, and hand washing sinks out throughout the county. Benefits programs, how to get CalWorks or CalFresh for people. Everybody right now should be qualifying for CalWorks. If they're out of work, they can call this number and should get approval instantly. Families with children and how we help with meal and scholastic assistance, the Family Resource Center, what Salvation Army is doing. So there's so much happening that I really wanted to take this opportunity to share this, because the changing face of the homeless right now, although people who lost their jobs aren't homeless generally, if they had a place to be, they're not being evicted. But we're really worried that they are going to become the changing face of our homeless really soon. So I just gave you guys an awful lot of information. I can go on, but I find it more helpful if people want to ask questions. I think there's a way to raise your hand and then you can be unmuted, or you can unmute yourself, but we just don't want to talk over each other. I think the big thing for me really is to say that all the agencies that we've worked with, not just agencies where people get paid, but our church partners, our faith partners, our community partners, people are coming together to make face masks and to make food and to provide blankets or warm socks or, you know, just a nice comment to people has really changed. I mean, we've always, Arcata House Partnership, for as long as I've been here, has always had a really great community support, but the outreach and the pouring of kind will has just been increased astronomically. So the big thing for me is I couldn't be more grateful for our organization partners, for our faith partners, for our community partners, and for our neighbors who are all together saying, how can we help people in need? So first, thank you, and questions. Sure. Jane, let's see, how do we unmute you? Can you unmute yourself, Jane? No, you can't. Okay, let's find you on our list.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. A lot of the thrift stores where we typically donate are closed.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we donate to you if do you want money or do you actually want food, clothes? What is it that we can help you with if we can?
Thank you. That's a great question. So for us or whoever your organization is that you plan to sponsor or can sponsor, most of us are not taking in donations right now because of contamination concerns. So if you have clothes, hold on to them. We're going to need them really soon. We're getting a little low, but right now, while there's a moratorium, there's not much we can do about that. Of course, donations are always welcome, donations of money. We're working really hard to get an organization who's going to be managing the hub volunteers, so that if any organization needs a volunteer, there's one place that we can call. What if the governor releases some limits? We're thinking that thrift stores may be open in another month. That's what I'm hearing this morning on the national call. And if that happens, you know, we're all going to need support. But places, particularly like the Missions thrift store on 5th Street, they are just struggling. Not that I don't want people to support us, but they rely on those funds to pay their rent. So once the thrift stores open, please rush to bring whatever you can and to purchase from there and do the best you can. For us, we are going to need, for sure, twin sheets and blankets and pillowcases. We're going to need clothing and shoes. We're certainly running very low on clothing and shoes, hygiene products, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, those kind of things. We're trying to get the portable showers into our community right now. We haven't been able to do that, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to do that so people can have showers. So hygiene products, towels are going to be important, anything like that. We've been very lucky. Some restaurants who know that they're not opening for a while have donated a lot of food. So we're really doing okay with food. All of us, Betty, the Mission, Free Meal, we're all working together to really support each other with the food that's coming in. If we have too much bread, we bring it to Free Meal. If they have too much meat, they share it with us. So we're doing a really good job with food. And I think more than anything, the big thing that I need from you is just kindness. Well, you know, walking by the tent shelter on 7th and G, and just realizing that people are there just trying to get through another day like anybody else. We've really seen a reduction in the need for panhandling because people's needs are getting met. They have a place to be and they have food and they have drink and they have, we're obviously, we don't buy them beer or marijuana, but you know, they're doing okay. We just need lots of kind thoughts. Hold on to those socks and those pants, and soon when some of these restrictions get lifted, we're going to be putting out information. The thing we're right now, we're getting another property ready to open for an additional family shelter. So I'm looking for dressers or some living room easy chairs or some love seats, preferably not with fabric, but with material that can be wiped off. So if anything like that, any furniture like that is available, then please let us know. Thank you. Good question.
Hey, Darlene, do you see the next question from Margaret?
Margaret, is there a good place to donate handmade face masks? Yes, absolutely. So what we're doing right now is we'll take homemade face masks at our office, 1005 11th Street. We have a mailbox that's secure that you can just put them in. And then our staff will retrieve them from there. So that's a great question. We are going through an amazing amount of masks. As you know, the people are on the street, even if they're fabric ones, they don't right now have a way to do the laundry. However, we did just get $1,000 to do some laundry cards. So we'll be doing that in the next couple of days. So people will be able to have some clean clothes. Pam has a question. Her hand has been up. Pam, how do I unmute you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Darlene, thank you so much. You look so calm. I'm sure this is not the case. Anyway, I'm wondering about the tents that are near the community center, you know, across from Health Sport. Is that part of what the police are helping with?
So that's a great question. So there were an awful lot of tents there. And what we wanted to do, opening our lot on 7th and G and at the transit station, is to take some of those large groups that were at the community center and give them a place to be. So we were kind of separating. We were keeping groups together because we want, you know, if somebody's been living together, if these 10 people have been living together, and we kind of put them all together to shelter in place, that's really supporting social distancing from, you know, the other 30 people that were living there. So there are still some people there. We're working with them today. Again, I think at noon, 4 people from there who were meeting our senior criteria went into the hotel. So we got 4 people from there. There's still some people there. What I'm hoping is I put the word out to the city asking for another parking lot that we could use so that we can help people to maintain social distance while still maintain their community. Because as you know, and I know, you know your neighbor. Well, in this case, their neighbor is the person sleeping in their tent next to them, and that provides some community. So what I'd like to do for people there is if there is another place for us to open a 3rd lot, then we move another group of 10 or 12 or 14, however big they are, to that place so that they can be served better too. So we're working with the police, we're working there. The police don't want them there, but we don't have another place right now. Sure, Pam.
Just one more thing. So David Cobb, is he working with you?
I don't know.
I get notices about things going on with David Cobb, and I'm wondering what the relationship is between Arcata House and him.
I don't know who that is, but I'll make a note here. I just made a note so that I can follow up. Is he a...
Darlene, he runs Cooperation Humboldt. He used to be the Green Party candidate for president years ago, and he founded Cooperation Humboldt with a couple of other individuals. He's also working on his board is Ron White from HAF, Humboldt Area Foundation. They've been doing a lot of events, promoting cooperative housing, cooperative employment, businesses, etc. And so he'd be a good person to contact. And I have his information.
Great.
I'll get it to you.
Good, thank you. So one of our staff has been working with somebody from Cooperation Humboldt, but it may be Mr. Cobb, I don't know, but I'll certainly check in, and thank you for getting me his information. Questions?
Yeah, this is Maggie. They also are trying to do a lot to organize volunteers, and they seem to be one of the places that is taking on that task. So they would be a good group to contact. I want to just say thank you and applaud you for getting these. I'm looking off to the side. I can see the parking lot from my little window here at my home, and so I've been howling with some of your folks living over there and just watching, and they didn't know what was going on, but some of them are like, okay, whatever. But they have been really just chill neighbors to have. There's a lot there. It seems like there's a big group there, but they're real chill. One night I woke up about 2 a.m. to some really serious yelling, and I looked out my window and it was not them. It was the person across the street from me yelling at her son. Different issue, sad issue, a lot of stress in families. They have a home and they're just, it's too small for them. And I don't think people always realize when they're home how lucky they are. But I thought, wow, that's interesting. These people comparatively have it going pretty well, and and the people who are sleeping on the street are all quietly sleeping, or trying to. I wanted to ask how this is happening in Arcata, and I know you're based in Arcata, but you also are connected with the other groups around. And what's happening in other jurisdictions in terms of taking up this particular method for supporting people? It seems like Eureka at least is not, and without getting into whatever, are there any plans for Eureka what's holding back for Eureka in terms of trying some of this? And is there anything that our community, that we can do to talk to our representatives if we live in Eureka or the other places in the county, and ask them to consider this option?
Great questions. First, thank you for being a great neighbor, and I'm glad that people there are great neighbors too. That's our goal. So what's happening in other parts of the county? We opened, again, most of us are working together, 20 hotel units in southern Humboldt for people who met that senior and more fragile population. They're feeding, a couple hundred people a day down there. So if you're from southern Humboldt and you, want to be part of that support, then send me an email, dspoor@arcatahouse.org, and I'll connect you with people down there. In Eureka, the mission they have their lockdown piece where the women and children's section is locked down and 50 of the men are locked down. They recently opened up a night-by-night piece, and they're still feeding pretty regularly for people on the street. Free meal is feeding every day. Betty this morning on our morning meeting said that she's going to open a walk-in center across from her family shelter for seniors, or families with women with little children, not families, women with little children, to try and get them some support. So we're working as fast as we can. There are not tent shelters in Eureka. They do have some hotels, but they're not telling any of us how many hotel rooms they have open over there. So frankly, I just don't know. But I do know that they have some hotel rooms over there that they're putting people in the 65 and medically fragile in. And I was told that they secured 10 rooms for people who were homeless while they were waiting, if they've been tested and they were awaiting test results for the virus. However, there's a lot of restrictions on those rooms, and so we haven't been able to get anybody in there yet, which was kind of weird to me. So we're doing other things, and by me, Arcata House Partnership, of course, but other agencies as well. We haven't been able to access those rooms. There's a lot of resistance against opening tent shelter programs. So the ones that we're doing are really being watched carefully, and if they work, will become a model. We were very lucky that we did get some financial support, so we're right now staffing up. So we're still looking for a couple of new staff. Luckily, we haven't had to lay off any of our staff other than the ones who were seniors and wanted to not work through this. So we are looking for a couple more staff people, if you know of anybody that wants to do evening, night, weekend shifts as well, because we're staffing 24 hours. So they are reluctant to open tent shelters. And what I'm hearing mostly is that people are concerned that there's going to be a lot of violence. And so this morning, the chief from Eureka asked me how people were being chosen for the ones that we're managing. And I said, they're self-selecting. If this is the community that people are living in, they know who the people are in their community, and we're putting them together so that, we're not forcing anybody to be anywhere, which is where things start to get a little dicey, right? If I say, Pam, you must live 6 feet away from Mary, You're like, I don't like Mary. I don't want to live next to Mary. Well, then we're going to have a problem, right? But if I say, Pam, who do you want your neighbor to be? And your neighbor's going to be Jane, and you guys get along well, then great. So I think for us, the reason there's been success is that we're allowing people to choose. Go figure, people should have a right to choose where they live and who their neighbors are. And so we're being watched. Eureka's not ready to do that yet. Other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Have you contacted HSU at all about housing homeless students? Are you dealing with homeless students? Has HSU offered up any rooms, because don't they have some empty dorms at this stage? Are they open to dealing with this at all? And how are the hotels being compensated?
Okay. Wow, lots of question here. So the answer is, we've contacted everybody, asking and begging. It's not beneath me to beg. So there's been a lot of begging on my part over the last few weeks. HSU has about 300 students still on campus. Some of them were people who were homeless, and we got them into the university and got them some funding and money to pay for housing, so they don't have anywhere else to go. I did hear on Thursday last week that there were some hungry students up there. So our staff are checking in today to see if there are people up there that need some help getting fed. So the short answer is that HSU is not in a position to open their buildings for people to be housed at. I'm trying to be really careful here, because what I don't want to do is say, here's all the things that we're not doing, because there's a lot that we are. With HSU, they have not been in a position to allow us to use any of their empty buildings, like the one on Samoa, or other buildings that, you know, like the showers in their gyms, so that we could provide showers, those kind of things. But we're still working on all of that. So I don't want to say, you know, anything negative, because I'm hoping that we still get to change their minds. They're going through a lot right now too, trying to figure out, they're expecting their enrollment to be down substantially in the fall. The CSU and UC systems are trying to determine if they're going to have face-to-face classes in the fall, or what that's going to look like. So they're going through an awful lot of change right now too. And we're there to support them and their students and all of their faculty and staff who, you know, no longer have a job this week and maybe have to come to our food pantry on Wednesdays.
I know there was an article in the paper on Sunday that kind of laid out their absolutely horrific situation and projections as a result of a study, which was horrifying for our community overall.
Well, what it's going to do, unfortunately, here's some silver lining. It's going to allow us, Arcata House Partnership, and organizations like us who have permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing vouchers to put people in more quickly into apartments, because there's going to be vacant apartments. So on the good side, all of those people who are at risk right now or homeless right now, we hope that we're going to be getting people housed really quickly, because there's going to be more units available.
There already are, I believe, because I heard complaints in the fall with the reduced numbers of students, that people who had apartments and were renting them out, they were empty.
Yes.
Or half of them were empty already.
And we've been very lucky. As you know, emails are coming in right now from a funding source that I just wrote to for extra money for housing vouchers, and it looks like we're getting a bunch more. So that's great. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, great.
I'm going to interrupt.
Yes.
We do have another question from Margaret Starbuck. She says, is there a good email list for keeping up with homeless issues and donation needs as they change or evolve?
What a great question. There is not right now, but I think that's something that we should be working on. So if people want to be on an email list so that as things come, because we're getting updates almost daily, I can have one of our staff people make sure that that information is getting forwarded. So if that's something that people wanted to have started, work with people here in this OLLI class and get your information to me, that would be great. Now it's almost 1 o'clock. I'm available for a little longer if people have questions. This is such a big issue, or if it's time to end this soon, then somebody please let me know.
Do you have any COVID cases at the moment? Are you aware of any problems in any of the shelters at the moment?
That's a great question. So no, none of us do. People in the Mission, people in Betty's shelter, people in our shelter, we only had one person tested in our tent shelter program who tested negative. Nobody else has had any of the symptoms. Everybody, and again, I'm going to look over here, everybody who we come in contact daily is asked, do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Do you have shortness of breath? If the answer is yes, we immediately call Open Door. We have a 24-hour number. They come out, they test people right away. We haven't had any positive tests, neither have any of the other shelters.
And how many seniors have you been able to place so far?
So we have 14 in the shelter. We'll have 20 by the end of tomorrow, hopefully 30. And again, I don't know how many people, there's 20 down in Southern Humboldt. Easily we could place 50 seniors right now. I mean, it's just the amount of people who are coming to us for service is great. And in our regular shelter, we do have seniors who have been sheltering in place. We're not bringing anybody new into those shelters, but if they were in there, then that's great. They get to stay. And in our permanent supportive housing program, we've brought in, I think, about 14 new seniors in the last couple of weeks.
I know that the county and or Maggie have a home share program. Has that been producing any opportunities for you?
It has not. We've been aware of that, and we're kind of doing some initial screening for people who are ready to be housed and ready to be housed with somebody else. Not everybody is, and not everybody's stable, and we don't want to refer somebody to that program if they're not reasonably ready. So we're very aware of it. We thought we were going to have one person to refer on, but it didn't work out. But that's certainly on our list. Yes, thank you. Oops, sorry.
That's your end of 1 hour, right?
I gave everybody permission to unmute yourself. So if there's somebody who wanted to ask a question that hadn't had a chance yet, please go ahead. Unmute yourself and ask away.
Anybody?
I
probably overwhelmed everybody with the amount of information.
know it's been great.
It's been fantastic. Can we basically get access to those documents, or how are they going to be online at the Arcata House website? Is that the best place to go to get those documents, or do you need us to be able to ask you for them, or how?
Well, you know, that's a great question. I have not thought about putting it on our website, but I can. If you want me to send them to somebody, and then you can email them to everybody on this little brown bag lunch, although I'm not seeing anybody eating your lunch. You know, and then you can send them out. That would be great.
Yeah, Darlene, just send them to the OLLI email, and then I'll make sure to get them out to everybody.
Okay, but give me that again so I can make sure.
OLLI, OLLI.
Yeah.
At humboldt.edu.
So how are you guys faring? There's such a need to continue to be social and have these interactions, even if they're not face-to-face. Is that meaning, is this like the OLLI presentation now. This is the beginning. Sorry, somebody just came in. This is the beginning of everything, and you guys are going to be greatly successful.
I hope so. This is our first brown bag presentation. So just, thanks to all of you for staying connected and for joining us today. The curriculum committee is working behind the scenes. I see you, Pam, you're unmuted, so you can talk and just give me a second. And we are offering classes online. We have 3 classes starting this week, and we're doing our best to just keep connected. Tracy Barnes-Priestley is going to be starting a Friday chat group, and we're going to get that information out to all of our members just as soon as we can. And if you have any ideas, really just go ahead and send them to me. I'm Kim, and olli@humboldt.edu is the best way to get a hold of me.
Pam, you had a question.
Yeah, well, it's just a comment. I'm involved with the disability rights movement and have been for 30 years. And one thing I wanted to say is it was very important among our group to start talking about people with disabilities as opposed to disabled people. Because, to put the people first. And so I've been trying to refer to the homeless as people without homes to make it more personal, people oriented. That's my comment. And I'm also wondering, how are you doing in terms of people with physical disabilities?
So that's a great question. First of all, I too have been involved in disability rights for, I don't know, 30 some years. We have a child with cerebral palsy. It's just always kind of been something that I've been involved with. So thank you. I too am there. All of our shelters are now accessible for people with all levels of ability, as long as they're able to care for themselves. So if somebody, or they have a personal care attendant who can come in with them, right? But if somebody is in need of an assisted living environment, then that's really different. That's not who we are. The hotel program, we have, I think, out of the 20 rooms we've reserved, 12 of them are on the first floor and able to be used by people with different levels of ability. So we're trying really hard to make sure that we're serving people with all levels of ability. So thank you for your support and your work.
And by the way, we are planning to continue these brown bag lunch programs. I'm inviting individuals, as I have invited Maggie Kraft, to make presentations of topics that are particularly relevant today. We're kind of, ignoring what we had on our program and saying, okay, what do we need to be addressing right now? Except you were totally relevant. So it's like, let's go with it. And some people are shy about wanting to do this because they haven't done it before. They aren't comfortable with Zoom and doing presentations. So the more we do this, I think the more people will become comfortable coming forward and not only doing the brown bag lunches, but taking classes, because we are getting the instructors on board, those that, again, are comfortable to give their classes. So you can keep in touch with that by going, Kim, to the OLLI website, right? How do we let people know?
Yeah, the OLLI website is the best place. Also, our Facebook page. It looks like Rita, maybe you have a question, Rita Carroll?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something about the face masks, Darlene. I went online, I was able to get a bunch of yarmulkes cheap. When you have a yarmulke, you fold it in half. You take a rubber band at one end and staple it on, a rubber band at the other end, staple it on, and you have a great mask.
Nice.
And they're lined. What?
What is it called?
A yarmulke.
A yarmulke.
A Jewish yarmulke.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's Italian. What are you going to do?
It's cheap. It's easy. I mean, you just need a stapler and cut some rubber bands and you're good.
Where did you get all these yarmulkes?
I just went online to Amazon or something and just, ordered a bunch. So.
Nice. Thank you. We've been very fortunate. Lots of people are making masks for us, and we're very fortunate. And we get 100, and then then we're down to 20 in a couple of days because we're just wanting to make sure that anybody who needs one gets one. So, you know, if you ask me today, do we need any? The answer is no, but tomorrow we will. So just keep coming.
I donated some to the St. Joseph's Hospital recently.
Excellent.
They were happy to have them. Hi, Phil.
I unmuted everybody, so we're going to get all kinds of sound. Just in case anybody has anything that they want to add or to share before we go.
Darlene, do you get enough in private donations to fund any particular program? I mean, how much of your funding is through private donations?
Only about less than 10% of our funding is, I mean, from, you know, regular donations, less than 10% of our funding. Most of our funding is from state and federal sources. So one of the things that you certainly can do in this economic time is make sure that your legislators and representatives know how important it is to continue to have that HUD money coming out and be as unrestricted as possible, to continue to have that emergency solutions grant funds come out and be as unrestricted as possible. We have been fortunate to apply for some waivers in the last week that both HUD and ESG have put out that allow us to be a little more responsive. So we appreciate that, but I'm really nervous about the state of our federal leaders and what that means for us. So please stay diligent and on top of all of the federal restrictions that are coming our way, because we don't know what's going to happen soon.
If we want to try to lobby, whom should we lobby?
The National Coalition, I'll send that information when I send the documents for you. So I'll make sure that you have a couple of names and a couple of places to lobby. So I'll make a note of that so that I can do that too. NLIHC is the National Low Income Housing Support Group that we're part of, but I'll send all of that information to you. .org.
But how about Jared Huffman? I mean, are they helpful at all, or any of our locals, or no?
Oh, absolutely. They're for sure. They're all really helpful and really supportive. And I think our governor is being so responsive. So any thank you notes that you can send his way to our state governor for being responsive is just a great idea. Yes.
Are you getting funding from the Humboldt Area Foundation as well?
Yes, the Humboldt Area Foundation, that's a great thing, has opened a COVID-19 account that people are donating into, and they've done really well at getting some pretty large donors in there. And all of that money will go to, we needed a new washer and dryer in one of our programs so that we could make sure that everybody's clothing was getting, you know, cleaned and taken care of. Great. They gave me some money to do that. Somebody else needed, the mission needed some money to keep their doors open 24 hours a day. So their electric bills were really high. Great. Those kind of things are getting funded right away through the Humboldt Area Foundation. So please go to their website and donate to their COVID-19 response program. That's been a great resource for all of us, not just Arcata House Partnership.
And is there anything we can do with local officials like our city council?
Well, I think that there's certainly a need to encourage Eureka to be a little more responsive.
And the county.
Well, yeah. Okay, I don't want to bite the hand that, you know, I want to feed me in the future here. But the reality is, and you know, I'm not saying that Arcata House Partnership is all things to all people. We have our limits too. Our staff are working 24 hours a day right now. They're really tired. I'm asking people to work 6 days a week whenever possible. And it would be 8 days a week if the law allowed it, but it doesn't. You know, so we're doing as much as we can, and we're not all things to all people. There are people who can't be served by us. or people who we aren't able to serve. And I get that, and I get our limitations, and we're trying really hard to serve as many people as we can and to serve the most needy. So, you know, when I'm saying, sure, can Eureka do more? Yes, and I'm sure they're saying Arcata House Partnership can do more too, although I don't know how, but we're trying.
I do have another quick question, Darlene.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see some homeless people down at West Valley, the Valley West, I'm sorry, at the shopping center there. And there have been a couple of times when they've asked for food and so I said, do you have a place to sleep? And they don't. I want to tell them and send them over to you. Is that not a good idea?
That is a good idea. So every afternoon between 1 and 4, a walk-up window at our location over near the bus station, 501 9th Street, is open for anyone to come in, to walk up to the window, get some food, get some water, get their mail if they're having their mail delivered to us, because people need a place to get their mail. Especially now that they're trying to get their Social Security, their $1,200 check, and to get clean clothes as much as we have. We're trying to reach out more to Valley West. We're not being as successful as we want to be. But, you know, we were hearing things like there's a mom and a daughter that take the bus every day over to our building. And as soon as we heard that, we're like, let's give you a food bag for the week so you don't have to come over every day to get lunch. So please do forward that information. Let people know that we're here and however we can help.
No, I was thinking about the place that's near Valley West. I know you have a place there. Is that
our
not?
Shelters?
Yeah, yeah. So that would not be a good place to tell people about, correct?
No, those shelters are shelter in place right now.
Okay.
If people, they can call our 633-6236 number. Or they can go to the annex for sure for any service. Yeah, and if they need something, if the police are involved too, we make sure police have, you know, food in their cars so that can be distributed as well.
Cool.
Excellent. Anything else?
Hey, you have been fantastic, Darlene. I want to thank you so very, very much for everything you're doing, for agreeing to do this program, and for getting us launched into our new online Zoom brown bag lunch program.
Great, my pleasure.
We're going to be harassing more of you to try to give presentations such as Maggie.
Well, anytime you want a little update, please let me know. I just want to end really by saying thank you all for your support. We can't do this without all of the community having our backs. And we can't do this without amazing staff. So if you know any of our staff, give them kudos. And thank you all for what you're doing and for helping us to be part of the community service.
Thank you. Very, very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Kim?
Gail, did you have a question?
I did, just to say that this information is so useful and good, and it would be nice to have it put out in the local media. Maybe somebody could do an interview or you know, get something in the papers, just because I think everybody needs to know about this.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thanks.